Hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is a long overdue video about trying to enhance the Microsoft interface. Now, up until now, basically, or traditionally, we've had the ability to do ribbons since 2007 and context menus. And ribbons take up a huge amount of real estate. They're not easy to work with. Microsoft still has never given us a tool to actually work with them, so you have to go get a third-party tool or try to do it all through a text editor or whatnot. You know, no easy way of getting an idea of all the image and icons you can use, etc., etc., etc. The list goes on, the problems with working with the ribbon. For advanced users such as, let's say, myself, sure, I can shoot out a ribbon, no problem. But I'm talking for the average user, the novice developer, the ribbon is a tedious thing to get into. Context menus, I'm just not a big fan of. Anything that is hidden, in my opinion, shouldn't be used. So knowing that if I right-click here, I'm going to get a context menu, I'm not a huge fan of that. So I wanted to see what else could be done. Also issues with the ribbon, if we think about it, is as a developer, you use the shift bypass, you no longer get the ribbon. You can't dynamically load a ribbon in Access. So you can't do a change and then validate instantaneously. You've got to compact or close and go back in. And yeah, it wasn't well thought out. It was never finished. It's another half-baked solution. And Microsoft, we're talking 2007, so 17 years later, they still haven't finished what they started. So that brought me to what can we do? As you can see on the screen, I have 3 examples of menus that we could possibly incorporate. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, okay? What I'm doing here is I'm leveraging the power of the web. So everything you're seeing here are HTML-driven menus. You can incorporate anything. The sky is somewhat the limit. There are certain issues with the modern web browser control. There is no way around that. There are certain JavaScript commands that do not work. As I am now finding out, having struggled to manage to get these functional, there are aspects of CSS that are not supported by the Microsoft implementation of the modern web browser control. So there are limits. There are things that currently are a major issue as far as I'm concerned, and shows some major weaknesses in the modern web browser control. I'm not going to get into that today. I already have a blog post or 2 on some of it. I'm really just going to concentrate on how can we do what you're seeing on the screen. So I'm going to concentrate on 3 different menus. So 2 here, as you can see, are vertical, and 1 here that is horizontal. Okay. Sorry, my computer is frozen for some reason. Let's try this again. Okay. So this is what I'm going to concentrate on. And what we're going to attempt to do here is I'm going to show you how I went about it. I will then explain very briefly, and I'm not going to go into detail, the next step I wanted to do, but I can't. Just so you understand, and that hopefully you don't waste your time attempting to make it happen currently because of limitations. But I'm not going to do a deep dive into the whole issue. Okay, so let's just take a look. How do I go about this? Well, quite simply, Google is your best friend, or if you go on websites or whatever, but really simple. Just do a search for HTML and then pick what you're looking for. Is it a horizontal menu? Is it a vertical one? Whatever. So let's just say horizontal menu examples. Okay, something like that. It's just a general search. And you're going to come up here and you're going to find tons of pages that offer you samples and, you know, whatnot. So here, DevSnap, 130 CSS menus. Looks good. Okay. Okay, I don't know what's going on. My computer seems to be having a slow morning. So you go on it. Most of these are always going to be the same thing. Normally you have an image. I don't know why this site doesn't. And then they have a link to a demo, tutorials, etc. So let's just click on this one. I don't know where we're going here. I haven't tested this website per se. That would be one example. You're going to have a problem embedding this into Access. So I'm going to move on. Circle link menu. I don't know. Just need to find one example that I can actually show you. There, this is a good way of going about it. The CodePen examples are usually really good. So as you see here, you have the HTML here, you have the CSS. If there was JavaScript, it would be here as well. And what I do is once I find an example that I'm happy with, I will copy that, okay? And I will create an HTML page. So let's just come here. We'll edit it in Notepad. And I will verbatim copy each of those elements and put them into an HTML page. So all the CSS will go between a style tag, and I'll just literally copy paste it there. And then the HTML will then go between the body tag. So I'll put all the HTML there. And if there were other scripts like JavaScript, I'd be placing them here. Once I've done that, I now have an HTML page and it should work. So therefore, I should now be able to launch it and it should work fine in the Edge browser or whatever your default browser is, okay? So the first critical element here is you create the HTML page and you validate that it actually works, okay? So as you can see, this is one example. It isn't one that I've integrated into Access as an example for today, but it is one of the ones I was exploring. And then with this, you end up getting the ability to then go and create a whole bunch of different menu styles to suit your needs, to suit whatever it is you want. But now remembering, as you can see here, that these are all just plain HTML. Okay? So you now have full control to edit any of these and change whatever you want. Colors, fonts, obviously the text. And you can then customize it to suit your solution. Now, once we're at that point, we now have an HTML file that we can bring into Access. So let's open up Access and let me show you what I've done here. So for today, we're going to look at 3 menus. And as you can see here, we're going to be looking at menu 1, local files, menu 2, local files, and then here it's menu, I put H for horizontal because the other 2 were vertical, local files. Now it's important, I guess I'm going to get a little bit ahead of myself, to understand here local files. What am I referring to? It's referring to the fact that currently, well, with the exception of simple, but for more advanced menus, they typically use libraries like Font Awesome for getting their icons. And currently there is no way to make that work with the modern web browser control if you try to run everything locally. But as you can see here, I'm using a local file, a local HTML file, but the web resources, so the Font Awesome library, is web-based. Now, what the heck is he talking about? What I'm talking about, when applicable, and not all menus will require it. So this here is one menu that doesn't require any resources. So let's try to find another one. Let's see, menu. We'll scroll down. Here you go. Here's a prime example of the menu. This menu requires a script document, so a JavaScript. It's the jQuery library, okay? And to get it, to use it, I'm using a web address. So every time this page loads, it's actually going to this URL and downloading this file. Same for the CSS, the styling, so the icons amongst other things. It is going to this URL and downloading this file. Ideally, I wouldn't do that, okay? Ideally, I'd save these files locally, and then I'd be able to just use them locally without always having to do these calls over the internet. It's a waste of resources. I can do it for jQuery. I can run that locally, there's no issue. The Font Awesome, there is a technical issue, and because of the HTTPS MS Access protocol requirement for local files, it doesn't work. So I'm not going to go any further, but just long story short, trying to localize everything has turned out to be, well, in many cases impossible. There are cases, like I say, jQuery will work. So just depending what you're trying to localize, if that's the avenue you're wanting to go, do be aware there are limitations currently. And you don't want to spend as much time as I did trying to come up with workarounds, because nothing works. Okay, so that's why here you're going to see, although I'm using a local file on my hard drive, it is still going out and reaching out to the internet to get these two files on this specific example. Okay, so that's why it's a local file, but with web resources. So what have I done? For the case of the vertical menus, what I've done is I've placed here a web browser control, and that web browser control has a control source linked to our file that we have on the hard drive. So the menus that we have brought here locally. Then next to it, I've put a subform, and what I'm doing is as the user clicks here, it changes what happens on the subform, or it can go and call a function and do any other routine you want. But I have the subform there for when I need to display forms, that's where it's going to go. The other thing to note is I have no events on the form to make any of this work. Everything is bound directly to the web browser control, the modern web browser control. And for this to work, we use two events. The first event here, the onDocumentComplete, is once it loads this file, it's going to run this little tidbit of code, and it's going to append the code to the existing page. So that's what I'm doing. And then I have to react to when the user clicks on our menu, so we can then adjust and react to it. So we use the onClick event. That's it. Let's look at the onDocumentComplete. What am I doing? It's very simple. It's the exact same code that I had in a previous video on which button did I click. So I'm injecting into the page that it loads this bit here, all of this. What is this? Well, I'm creating a function that will, as the user clicks on the web page, identify what's been clicked on and pass it back to a hidden input box. Okay, and the hidden input box is something we create here. We inject it also. So I'm creating this script that will recognize what the user clicked on, and it pushes it basically to an HTML text box that's hidden. Then the last thing I do here is I add a listener for all click events on the page that calls this function. So in fact, when the user clicks anywhere, this script is attempting to identify what it's been clicked on and pass it to that hidden text box, that hidden input. Why? Because the click event then goes and reads that hidden text box value, that hidden input value. And that's what allows us to identify what the user clicked on, and we can use a select case to then react accordingly. So in this case, populate a subform, display a message box, exit out of Access completely, run a function, start an email. The sky is the limit here. But that's it. That's all. This form load, it's not even used. It can be commented out. The form open isn't even used. Like I say, it is just these two events. And that is it. That's how hard it is to incorporate some truly nifty HTML menus and modernize things. Because the stylings, the look, the feel that you can get with HTML, I'm sorry, but there is nothing in Access that comes close to it. So let's take a look at it in action. We have the web page that will load. It has already gone out to the web. It has already gone out whatever it needed, whatever resources it needed for the visuals, for the JavaScript, etc. Now I have a beautiful accordion menu. As you can see, that works beautifully. And as you can see here, it will go and load in real time subforms. It will do whatever I want. As you can see here, this one isn't linked to a form. I have it just popping up a message box. Or if you want just to demonstrate, log out, I'm done with the system, and it closes out. The same would be true for another one. Now, as you're going to see, this is not rocket science. It is verbatim the exact same thing. I have a web browser control. I have my subform. The web browser control has the exact same two events. Okay, the only thing that might change is that depending on what buttons you have on your menu, you may have more or less in the case statement. That's it. But everything else remains unchanged. So now we open it up, and now we have a completely different menu. The only thing that changed in reality is the control source for the web browser control. The beauty here too is this could be a configurable element in a table somewhere, and this could be loaded at runtime. So you could offer your user multiple versions, different menu styles, and they could pick as part of their configuration. And then it just automatically loads for them. This one's a little bit more stylish, shall we say, with just icons. But as you can see, I clicked on the search, clicked on edit. Oh, there it is. And there it is again, gone. What about a horizontal menu? Well, a horizontal menu is no different in principle for bringing into Access. The only difference is instead of being running down vertically, it's now running across at the top. But once again, we have a web browser control. We have a subform control. We have two events. That's it. Nothing changes. Let's look at what it looks like. Well, we came in here, and here you can see a completely different style of menu. We can come in and create a new contact if we wanted. John Smythe. We could save that entry if we wanted. We could duplicate it, so now we're up to 3 entries. We could do whatever we want. Oh, this was a mistake. I'm going to delete them. Now we're back down to 2 entries, etc., etc., etc. We could have something here to launch a Skype call, create an email to this user, whatever you want. Everything is possible. But just to demonstrate how simple it is to bring in any look, any style, and it really is very simple to do. This is very simple stuff to do. Well, once you have the framework that I'm going to provide to you in my article, I'll give you the demo file with multiple menus just to give you an idea of exactly how all of this works. But as you can see, we are able to blend together Access functionality, Access objects, and make them interact or make the web browser interact with them. So all of this becomes pretty simple to do at the end of the day once you understand the basic principle. And it's all based basically on that whole tidbit of code here where we inject into it the ability to identify what the user clicked on. This is also part of the reason why I still have to use local files. Not only was there an issue with managing to bring locally certain resource files, but I ultimately wanted to make this all VBA based. Benefits there are speed. You don't have users able to mess around with your files, etc., etc. And it would also allow certain better automation principles for security, amongst other things. But there's an issue there too, because by populating the web browser control dynamically with content, I ended up finding out that the events, such as the on-click event, which we rely upon for the case statement, no longer fires. So I have to bind to a local file, otherwise this wouldn't work, which is kind of important for what we're doing. So it's just another one of these bugs that I've identified. We'll wait and see if Access Dev Team fixes it. So we do need to use local files, and in many cases we have to use web resources. The jQuery can be brought in locally, however. But if you use FontAwesome or many other libraries that use CSS chaining and things like that, use SRC sources, you're going to find yourself in a position where you can't bring it locally. Long story short, I just hope this illustrates and opens a little bit of inspiration, gives you guys a little bit of interest in exploring and trying to, make the interface more modern. We're very much stuck in the year 2007 with the ribbon, and a lot of our controls are very old and tired looking. And being able to bring in some of this dynamic flow, more modern look and feel that you see on the web, and realistically that's what users are asking for. They want these hovers, they want all these different dynamic things, and we're able to provide it to them. It is possible, as you can see. So I just hope this inspires some of you guys, and truly searching the web is where you're going to find a lot of this. You don't have to be an HTML developer. You don't have to be a CSS guy. You don't need to do that. You can just go out on Google, find something that makes you happy, copy paste it into a simple text file, validate that it opens for you. Okay? Validate that it opens for you, that you're happy with it. And then once you've got this, you're able to then easily import it into here. And once you've got it here, you've got the rest of the code already for you, because the document complete and the click event take you the rest of the way. And at the end of the day, the only thing you need to really worry about is customizing this select case to do whatever it is you want it to do. Load forms, run functions, do some other command, automate things. That's all up to you. And it's all just controlled from this one location. So it makes it truly very simple to implement at the end of the day. So I'm going to stop here for right now. I don't have an article on this yet. I'll have to work on it. It's going to take a bit of work on my part, but I did want to at least provide this with you to show you what's coming down the pipe shortly on my blog. And like I say, I will have this demo database, and I will have a few more menus by then set up for you to be able to truly look at. But it is always the same principle. Web browser control and then a subform is what I've chosen to do. I have them here as overlapping, but it works just the same if you're using the tabs. There's no issue there whatsoever. That's when anchoring can become very important. So things get stretched properly and are located at the right locations. So do remember to properly anchor things. What am I talking about? For instance, here, if you click on the control, you'll see here, I have my anchor, vertical and horizontal, here set as both. And you click on the subform, you'll see as both. So you have to anchor it depending on if it's vertical, horizontal. So then when the tab, when it takes the full screen, it stretches the controls properly in the right directions. And it isn't hard to do. As you can see, these two properties here are all you need to play with, and instantaneously your form will look much better. I guess that's about it for today. And please, leave me a like, share, subscribe. Please drop me some comments. Do you see this as being useful? Is this something that you're wanting to try to implement? I will put out another video where I'm going to take this demo a little bit further. So this was the introduction to the menus. I'm going to do another video, I'm not quite sure when, where I'm going to demonstrate how we can add, through code obviously, a little extra layer of, I guess we'll say, security. So basically what I'm talking about here, let's just close this for 2 seconds. No. And let's just come to this guy here. It can be any menu. It doesn't make a difference. I'm just using this for the sake of discussion. But what if we have this, and what if this settings menu and drop down, what if that we only wanted the administrator to have access to? Currently, it loads for everyone. That would be a nightmare. It's a potential nightmare. So what I'm going to do in my next video on the subject is I'm going to show you how we can apply security. So basically identify who the current user is, and then dynamically enable, disable, or perhaps it's completely remove a section of a menu. It isn't very hard, but I don't want to dirty the waters today. Just keep this simple. This is how you implement a menu. My next video, we'll take it up a notch, and we'll look at how we can get into a little bit more advanced stuff and customizing it in real life, real time, dynamically based on a user group, something like that. Okay? So just know it is possible, and it isn't very complicated either. But we'll look at that in another video. So there is more to come. There's a blog article that will be published in the future, hopefully in the next week. There will be a part 2 to this video coming. I'm not quite sure, a week or 2. And I'm also going to take a moment just to mention to you guys that you're going to notice a substantial drop in my contributions, both on my blog, on YouTube, in the near future for the next several months for personal reasons. I will hopefully be coming back at more full force later in the year, but for the next several months you will see a substantial decline in my contributions, and that's how life goes sometimes. But I hope you appreciate this. I personally think when we're able to start integrating some cool features like this, I personally think, and I know my users will tend to agree, that this is bringing access forward. And no longer these dinky menus and whatnot. As always, all of this is fully customizable. Don't ever forget that. Whether it's fonts, whether it's colors, whether it's, I can customize any of this. Here, let's just take a quick glance. I didn't even demonstrate that. But let's take a look at this guy here. So we're looking at menu 01. So let's go open menu 01. And let's just come here. Let's open this guy up so you don't forget what we're dealing with. And let's just say notification. I don't need that. So we go to our text file. We come down to the section that has notification. You can comment it out if you want, or just outright remove it. You can come into your page and you can do refresh, and notification is gone. So that's what I'm saying. The beauty here is you have total control. Okay. So you can customize all of this. You can change the colors. You can change the fonts. Everything is there for you. It's basic CSS and HTML. And as you saw, the HTML, it's just plain text. It's very simple to do. There are specialized tools, obviously, for editing this if you really want to get into it. But for the most part, it is pretty straightforward and self-explanatory. It isn't very complicated to find the key term you're looking for if you want to change it. But yeah, it's all here. You can come in and change whatever colors you want. As you can see here, the body color, the background color of the list, they're all here. So you can go and change it for whatever you want. I don't know. I want to change this, let's say. So there we go. Let's see what that gives. I may not like it. Refresh, and it's made it into white. If we do that, and we refresh, it's made it black. So as you can see, you have full control, and now the beauty is you don't have to reload Access every single time. You're able to instantaneously refresh the page. So I'm going to leave it at the default. I like the blue, and there you go. So I've said it already, I don't know, 2-3 times. I'm going to stop here and wish you all a great weekend. And I'm going to wish you also a great summer, because like I say, I will be reducing my contributions for the immediate near future and next couple of months. Hope you all have a great summer, and I will see you in the next one. I'm reducing my contributions, but I will endeavor to get that second video out with regards to this menu though. Take care, everyone.